Welcome to the Invincible Innovation Show, the podcast for changemakers. Each week, I talk to the most fascinating entrepreneurs and innovation leaders about innovation, strategy, and design. Hey everyone! Today we're going to talk about the power of open innovation. Welcome to Invincible Innovation Live, a show about innovation and tech. Today we're going to talk to Itai Green, founder of Innovate Israel. Hey. Hi, Itai.
Hi, Adi.
Great to have you here. I'm so happy that you came. We are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook, and you're much invited to join the discussion and ask questions. We would love to hear your thoughts. And now we can start. So what is the most important part of innovation leadership as you see it?
So I think that being open-minded is the key to really succeed in open innovation. And the challenge is mainly of the top executives of the company to have the deep understanding that without this innovation, they might end up like Nokia. And especially these days of COVID, when being open for new ideas, for new startups, for new technologies is so important for the future success of the companies. I think that the board members, the chairman, the C-level have to really understand that it's a completely different world, totally different. And being open to other ideas is so important. We don't know everything. We have to share, we have to learn, we have to ask for other advices, for other ideas. And the more we are going to be open, the chances for success are higher.
Yeah. And do you find it hard to explain this to leaders, or you think that due to COVID, they are more open to thinking outside of their company and getting ideas from the outside?
It really depends. Before the COVID, it was much difficult to explain why is it that important, what are the threats, what are the opportunities of innovation, why if you're not going to do it, you might end up like others who are not with us anymore. And thanks to the COVID, I think top managers are more open. Having said that, I still feel that there is a missing know-how, a missing part in the knowledge of the board members. In the board, I still feel, I don't know if you're familiar with this number, but the average age of a board member in S&P 500, and by the way, it's almost the same in every country, is 60.
That's the average
age of a board member.
Wow.
And it is very difficult for a really talented CEO to get the board understanding and commitment to the innovation, when in most cases, the board members are coming from a totally different background. They are coming from, they are professors at the university, they really know business very well. They've been successful executives. They're familiar with there might be great CPAs or lawyers, but they have no clue about the challenges of 2021. And I've recently read a research in Israel that found that only 3% of the CEOs got a feeling that they can rely on the board, that they can ask their advice during the COVID crisis.
Wow, only
and this really shows that we have still a missing part here, which is very important. And the problem is that the board members, most of them, don't know what they don't know, and they really don't know anything about innovation, its importance, And it is super important they would commit not only their knowledge, but the resources, and will give us the needed support to the C-level to really move faster with innovation, and mostly with open innovation.
So so they're successful businessmen and they come from different, like I'm talking about the board. So, and they know that the world has changed. They see it as we do, right? They experience it as we do. Because they are so successful and they're so sure of themselves, they don't think they need to change. So what is this gap filled with?
So in many cases, there is a kind of thought. I mean, we've been successful till now. Let's keep on doing the same. We will succeed. I mean, this is completely wrong. But the case is that in many cases, the grandchildren of those board members know much better the direction of our world. I mean, what are the new technologies to adopt? What should we implement in order to stay relevant? And they're just coming from a different background, which is totally not relevant. I mean, these days you have to move faster. You don't have time for strategic business plans that McKinsey will provide you in 12 months from today. You have to be much more connected to the trends and to know the trends, to be familiar with, to know what kind of new ideas are around your company. What are the threats? I mean, in many cases, being a key player, a significant player in the ecosystem of innovation of the startups is so much important for even knowing what are the threats, what is going to be the next technology that if you will not adopt, your competitor will adopt. This, in many cases, can be something that will disrupt your business. I mean, you can imagine that Airbnb entrepreneur was originally discussing his business with many mature businesses in the hospitality. Sure. I know in some cases he was asking to meet these people. They were not willing to meet him. And these days, you'll tell an hotelier about an Airbnb, they will be white. I mean, they will lose. I mean, it will be really embarrassing for them. So really, the thing is to be open, And I don't feel like, I mean, I can tell you that in Israel, the business environment is relatively more mature in the understanding of the importance of innovation. And since 2018, it is mandatory by law, for example, that in each and every bank, there has to be at least one board member who is specialized with technology and innovation. Ooh. And this is relatively a very advanced way of thinking. And a year later, in 2019, MIT has conducted a research, and they found that if you have 3 board members like this, who have a different background from what we used to, the bottom line, the performance, the business performance of those companies is by far better than its competitors. So this is really a minor change that can create a huge impact. But in order to make it, you have to have the controlling shareholder, the owner of the big companies, really understand that if they would not do it, they will lose their business. In Accor, the hotel chain, they've created a shadow board of young people below the age of 35, because they realize that the current board is not really connected enough to the trends. So below the age of 35. So I think that the key lesson is create diversity in the board. Thanks God, they already understand that you have to have women in board. Yeah. Thank God. But it's not enough. they have to bring also to create a diversity in the background, in the knowledge, in the professional board member. So this is super important. And once you have this, it helps a lot to make the change and fast.
Yeah. What you're describing is top down. So if the top is like limited, it will not happen from sea level down. So
exactly.
Yeah, it really makes sense. But you are expert in open innovation. So it's not only telling them you should be innovative, you should incorporate open innovation in your company. So what is the advantages of this, of using open innovation?
So we are living in a time, I mean, for the telephone of Graham Bell, it took 75 years to reach 50 million users. How much time it took Zoom to reach 50 million users, or Facebook, or other? I mean, less, right?
Here. Okay, so
less than 75 years.
PR, right? But we can take games like
any game, any app, any good one. Yeah. It took by far less than 75 years to reach 50 million users. And the reason for that is that technology nowadays enables that, allows faster development. Everything moves fast. And unfortunately, big corporations cannot really move fast enough.
Yeah, it's all I would say. They cannot move fast.
Yeah, and it's a matter of DNA.
Yeah.
And if a corporate would develop something new internally, relying on their R&D resources, the R&D department, it would take a lot of time. And in most cases, the time to market will be irrelevant. I mean, when you really deliver the product, it's not going to be wow. It's going to be another product that someone already has. But at the same time, around the company, around the big corporation, there are very well-talented entrepreneurs that have already created what the corporate would like to create. And open innovation is the understanding that you're not developing internally something that has already been developed by someone else. You partner with this third party. There is a phrase, a quote I really like, says, most of the smartest people are working for someone else. Think about it. Statistically, it's true.
Yeah.
Even for Facebook, even for Google.
Yeah.
Most of the smartest people are not working for Facebook, not working for Google, right, and not working for anyone who listens to this video, right?
Yeah.
So what should we do in order to stay relevant? Yeah. We should collaborate. We should partner with those smart people. Where can we find those smart people? In other companies, at the academy, and startups, entrepreneurs. In Israel, we have many, but there are some really great ecosystems all around the world. So all a big corporate needs to do is to open his arms, open the door, open the eyes, and magnet those startups, those entrepreneurs, those smart people to come and partner. And I would personally, in 2021, measure a good employee, a good corporate employee, as one that has created as many partnerships as possible. Not the one that managed as many people as possible. No, this is like not relevant in 2021. Measure them. I mean, that's my tip for CEOs that are listening now. Measure your C-level, your VPs, by the number of partnerships with third parties they've created. This is the way to measure. The more you will partner, the more successful you'll be. The more relevant. Time to market of new products, of new services, efficiency, everything is going to move much faster by that.
But don't you find sometimes that the way of thinking of corporates or their culture is so different with what the startups have, it's like they need to really match together and know how to work together. It's not like, yeah, you take a startup, you collaborate fine, right?
That's true. You know, you're so right. I mean, it's really accurate. I mean, that's actually my role. I mean, I'm a kind of translator, but it's not enough. It's not enough. You're right. Corporates these days, I mean, to find and let's say a good startup or a good technology to partner with, this is the easiest part. The challenging part is to create the commitment of the big corporate to work with the startup according to the startup expectations. I always tell my clients, which are corporations, if you want to work with a startup, you want to partner with a startup, with an entrepreneur, speak the startup lingo, because startup would never speak the corporate lingo. With all the bureaucracy and the slowly, it's just not going to work, because startup cannot allow themselves to work according to slowly of the corporate, right? They have to move fast. Their cash flow is going to end up by the next quarter or next month or next 6 months, whatever. They're in stress. So if you want to work with a startup, you have to work according to their expectations. If you, as a corporate, want to be attractive to the startup, you have to work according to the startup lingo, and you have to be available 24/7, and you have to really make sure that the corporate relevant executives and relevant teams are engaged, are committed. They will reply to the startup as fast as they can, not next week. And when you need to sign an agreement with them, you're not going to get a WhatsApp from the legal department that's going to take 3 weeks till you get a first draft. I mean,
of course.
This is not the time frame of a startup. You have to work fast. So really the main challenge is to change the DNA. And in this case, the HR has a very important role, very important HR department. And the reason is, I mean, there are two types of employees in companies. The first one are those that are motivated by ego. NIH, not invented here. If they see something new that someone else developed, they didn't think about it, they say, oh, I was thinking about it in 1984, it's not relevant, it doesn't bring anything new to the market, it's not relevant. That's the way they would usually reply, either more politely or not. I've seen all kind of answers to startups. So this is one type. The other type are those employees that are motivated by curiosity. They have the fear of missing out. They want the FOMO. They really want to be the first to try. They want to be the first to implement. So my tip to HR, fire all the NIH type of people. They are risking the future of the company. As clear as that, as simple as that. They risk the future of the company. And promote and hire only those people who are the kind of FOMO, who has the FOMO syndrome. They're always curious. They always want to partner. They're not thinking about, not ego is motivating them, but the success of the company to stay relevant. So this is so important. And really to change this DNA is something which is challenging, but it's possible, because in 90% of the cases, the corporate employees are smart people.
Yeah, they are.
You just need to teach them what they don't know. You
need to enable them to express this curiosity and their skills and what they can offer. Sometimes they're like, this is your role, you will do exactly that. And all their other talents, they are not expressed because you need to do that. Exactly.
So according to my experience, it's possible to do it really fast, to make the change of this change of mindset. What I usually do, I take either the board, the C-level, or VP with his executives or her executives to a kind of innovation bootcamp. And this is what I'm going to say now is really practical, super practical tip, exactly like the previous tip of adding some board members or replacing some. So what usually is very, very efficient is to create such a bootcamp. At the beginning, have a kind of lecture from someone from the ecosystem who understand the innovation that would tell the top managers, what is open innovation? What is the opportunity? What's going to happen if you're not going to adopt it? What happened to corporations that didn't? What's the value? And of course, how to do it right, how to really engage with startups in the right way and to bring value to the corporate. And then bring to the room or to any virtual environment, I would not mention the name, you bring startups that are solving specific challenges and pains of those people that are in the room. And my experience is that after such a day where those executives are meeting 8, 10 startups, each startup for half an hour, 10-minute speech, and 20 minutes Q&A just to discuss potential collaboration. At the end of the day, those people in the room are completely different. They really understand, I mean, most of them, the majority, they really understand the threat of not innovating. They understand the opportunity of doing an innovation in the right way. They are suddenly exposed to very talented entrepreneurs, new ideas, new products they can relatively adopt in an easy way. And at the end of the day, they have to decide, and that's their commitment to the startups that were investing their time meeting them. They have, at the end of the day, they have to provide a startup with a clear answer. Whether it's interesting for us to have a second meeting with you next week, or thank you very much for coming, but at this stage, it's not relevant. According to my experience, if you pick the best, really good one and relevant one at the first stage, the 10 startups are relevant, you'll find yourself at the end of the day with 7-second meetings. I mean, with 7 out of the 10 startups, you will have a second meeting in the week after. And then this is a really great catalyst to start the innovation process practically with startups, with solutions that really bring value. And you see corporate employees like really amazed after this day because they discovered a new world, And they appreciate the boss. They appreciate the boss for this opportunity. And they want to be part of this success. So this is at least my experience in really starting this process.
Yeah, it really makes sense what you're saying, because when you meet entrepreneurs in general and work with startups, like for many years, there is something that you want to, because they are very enthusiastic and they're very proactive and they're very talented and they see the future. They live there. They don't live here. They live in the future. And then when you meet them, it's like you cannot argue with the fact that you are here looking at your bottom line right now, and they are looking there. And then you see this gap between where you are and where you should be. And it really makes sense that when they see it, they just experience the fact that they don't know. And we started with that. They don't know that they don't know, actually. So it's really always interesting. And we're now in the middle of the COVID crisis. I don't know if it's in the middle, but we're now here.
That's true.
So I guess that there are many new things to handle. And how can you grow in this it's a crisis time, in this challenging time? What would you tell the companies about that?
So I think that really it's absolutely a challenge. I mean, no doubt. The day-to-day is a challenge for big corporations. But this is also an opportunity. This is an opportunity to really be more relevant for the next crisis, more prepared to the next crisis. Because and I don't know when it's going to happen, even when we're going to be at the day after the COVID, which honestly, I don't know even if there's going to be such a day. because we're living in a crazy world. No, we just need to live with that. We need to live with that. But we're going to have more COVIDs. Might be COVID-20, COVID-21, might be another name. This is the only thing that's still missing for me. But for me, at least, it's clear that we're living in a crazy world. And once someone, and there are some bad people around the world, when they saw that it works and it has a huge impact, then we're probably going to have more alike. So the lesson for big corporation is really to stay prepared. This is the time to get prepared for the next crisis, and I think this is really the best time to open your eyes, to open your arm, to take a decision that you don't know everything, that you want to partner with others. You prefer to partner with others. You prefer to meet them before your competitor meets them, and this is. I know it's a change of mindset, but it's so important because everyone are now looking to efficiency. Efficiency is not firing employees. This is really minor. This is really minor efficiency. This is not the real efficiency. The real efficiency is integrating as many technologies as you can and allow your employees to do things that technology cannot. So I think this is a real challenge. So the challenge is really to be open, to make your employees be more open, to send a signal to the ecosystem that it's going to be attractive for them to work with you. There are corporations, by the way, also in Israel, that are working with startups and paying them immediately, kind of cash, by the end of the month. Not in 60, 90, 120 days. Yes. And this is a kind of, this sends a really positive signal to the entrepreneurs because it tells them that the big corporate don't treat them as a bank, that they will pay them in 120 days. They pay them immediately. And this shows the startups that there is a real serious corporate here that understand the importance of startups. And they don't treat startups like another supplier. It's a partner. And a partner, you treat him a little bit different. And I think this is something that is relatively small change in the corporate, minor change, for the CFO not to pay them in 120 days, but to pay them immediately. And for the startup, it is air to breathe. I mean, in many cases, startup, if you don't pay them on time, they might end up dying. And when you're a corporate, you have to understand who is the one you're sitting with. You're sitting with an entrepreneur that in many cases didn't get a salary for 6 months and didn't pay his employees or her employees for 3 months. It happens a lot.
Yeah, of course, right now even more.
And you have to understand that you're a corporate, you're strong, you can help them, and if you'll pay them immediately, they'll be committed to you.
Yeah,
such a minor change.
It's the way you see your resources. I guess that many companies see their resources. We need to really shrink everything and to close everything and freeze everything, to just survive. And if you see it as a VC, for example, we have resources we can invest in our future through startups. In that case, it's just an investment that will come back in a few, a year or two. You will get the money even more. And it depends on what is the startup doing. It could be while selling to your clients or within your company, or just doing things better than what you're doing right now. And why not? Like, that's a great way to invest your money than just hire another consultant or whatever that you want to do with your future.
And you see nowadays more and more corporations that are not hiring more and more employees because they understand that it is much more efficient to work with a third party. In this case, a startup, for example, an entrepreneur, whatever. It's much more, in terms of ROI, in terms of efficiency, it is much more efficient to work with an external partner like startup rather than to develop it internally by yourself. So if we are in a recession time where resources are limited, then the best way to stay relevant is really not to develop internally. This is a huge mistake. Huge mistake. You have to really work with others. And I must tell you, running a pilot, the amount of money that a corporate needs to pay for a pilot is really low. And even later on for the implementation, for license, whatever, it's pennies. I mean, it's really pennies. It's comparing to the alternative of investing internally, bringing more and more resources, hiring more and more employees, and delivering not as good product as you can get now. You will have a product in few years which is not as good as what you could get today. So what's the idea? What's the idea? So this is really an opportunity. This COVID, it really brought some also good opportunities.
Yeah,
So,
I totally. One more thing that happened in COVID, that we are all remote. So they're not sitting in your office, but none of your employees are sitting in your office. So it's like a task force that you bring, and it doesn't matter if like it's a team from within the company or from the outside, and they're like a guerrilla force working much, much faster than what your employees could do.
Absolutely. And internally, you only need someone who's a good project manager to manage this partnership, this project, this pilot, this integration, and to be a kind of middleman between the people of the corporate and the startup. And that's all. It is much cheaper. And you'll get a better service, a better product, a better technology in the fastest way when someone else took all the risks. Because the one who took the risk are the entrepreneurs, their investors, and others, not you. You just get a product. You just get a service. Win-win.
Sure. I think that one more thing that you mentioned before, that the people that you could hire are not entrepreneur in many cases. If you're a corporate, someone who will decide to work for an insurance company or a bank is probably someone that he's looking for security, and he's looking for something which is stable. And when you're looking for something stable, you work a bit slower, or much slower than an entrepreneur who is like running all the time. So your ability to hire these people is very, very low. They will not be interested to be an employee inside your company. But you
so
can
first of all, a very, very important tip for the HR is that when you have two candidates that you're about to hire, and they're quite the same level, but one of them has spent a minute in a startup, or 2 minutes, or few years, hire this one. Because it would help to change the DNA of the company to make it relevant to 2021. In one of the presentations I was giving to a financial corporate, I met them and I was trying to explain them the difference between, as you've just mentioned, the difference between them to an entrepreneur they will meet. And I was asking them, have you ever had you were afraid that you're not going to get paid your salary by the 9th of the month? That's how it works in Israel. Mm-hmm. The answer amazed me. They said, no, not the 9th, the first day of the month. In the financial sector in Israel, you get your money at the first day of the month.
Yeah.
So I told them, I can tell you from my personal experience, when I was an entrepreneur, and I was an entrepreneur for 15 years. In the worst day, first of all, I don't really remember many cases that I was paid on time. That's
yeah, you're in Israel, so
yeah. And now it's in entrepreneurs. That's how it works. I mean, you prefer to invest in other areas rather than to pay yourself.
Yeah.
So first of all, I don't really remember that. And the second thing, I told him, in my worst days as an entrepreneur, the startup owned me over $250,000. So their reaction to that was, Itai, you're a crazy person. You're insane. How come? How haven't you say them goodbye after a month, 2 months, 100K, 150K, 50K, whatever? How come you allow that to reach that they owe you 250K? So I told him, that's the difference between an entrepreneur to a corporate person. The risks that an entrepreneur is willing to take are crazy. You're right, I'm crazy. But that's how all entrepreneurs are. Entrepreneurs are different people. They're willing to take crazy risks because they really believe in what they do. And corporate people are looking for someone else, as you've just mentioned, for stability and so on. So when you meet an entrepreneur, and that's the lesson I told them, try to think, remember that in very high chances, this entrepreneur was not paid for 6 months and didn't pay his employees for 3 months. So treat this entrepreneur seriously. If it's interesting for you, move fast. If it's not interesting, say no politely, fast as well. And this is very important, this change of mindset for the corporate people. So you have to treat the entrepreneurs in their lingo, in their culture, in their rules. So important. And when you do it as a corporate, you suddenly get a valuable deal flow. The best entrepreneurs will approach you, will knock on your door, would love to work with you. And it's not a matter of money. It's a matter of state of mind.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's really important to understand who you talk to and where they come from. And it seems like it's so different from your daily life and what you understand about business in general, like the way you do business, even like you say. That's a small company, very small one, maybe like a very, very young one. And we're a big established company. But no, your DNA is so different. You're different creatures even. It's not the same. So I totally agree with that. So we're almost done. And I want to ask you your number one tip for innovation leaders.
It's a tough question, but I think that really the innovation leaders, I think that the main challenge for them is to make their colleagues engaged. Innovation leaders have to be the best with the best people skills in the company, not those not the techie people.
Yeah, I know.
In many cases, the company hires an innovation leader who is the techie guy or techie lady. That's not the challenge. The challenge is to make your colleagues engage, to make the corporate people change their mindset. You want to make them work as fast as they can and be engaged to specific projects with startups. So in order to make it, you have to have really the best people skill as possible. So I think this is really the tip. I think this is the challenge. This is the way to overcome it, to handle it. And when you really create the buzz internally, that there is value outside, and we don't know everything, and we are modest, and we are open, I think that this is a good innovation leader that would not only be able to engage the internal people of the corporate, but would also be able to send a very attractive signal to the ecosystem that would magnet the good entrepreneurs to this corporate that is really looking into keep on succeeding despite all the amazing and unbelievable change that this world is currently feeling. Really, I mean, it's really crazy. No day is like the day before. I mean, every day is like a new one. But the best way is to be flexible and to create this flexibility to the corporate would really guarantee its success for the years to come. So be flexible, be open, and engage your people, because without your people to be with you, along this challenge, you will not be able to succeed.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. So it's been like a total pleasure. I just want to ask you, if people want to hear more from you or contact you, where can they find you?
I mean, they can find me everywhere. They can message me on LinkedIn, on Facebook. They can email me on Itai on Green at innovateisrael.com. They can visit my website. They can even message me on WhatsApp, 972-50-549-6655. No problem. I mean, as long as they don't call, because these days we don't speak to anyone. We just chat, we just type. So I promise them to answer them really fast.
Yeah,
Exactly as I expect my clients to answer startups really fast. So I do the same for those that are approaching me.
yeah, that's for sure. It's been like a pleasure talking to you. I learned a lot, and I hope that others did. So, and thank you for your time. Thank you, Itai.
Thank you, Adi. It was great, really great pleasure. Thank you for
Yeah,
the opportunity to speak with your audience.
sure. And to all of you change makers out there, thank you for joining us. And I'll see you next week. You're invited to invincibleinnovation.com, and I'll see you. Have a great day. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
I'm Mazor Kario, and you've been listening to the Invincible Innovation Podcast. Make sure to visit our website, invincibleinnovation.com, where you can learn more about our programs and my book, Innovating Through Chaos. I'll be waiting for you next week in our next episode. Thank you for listening.